Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of the Philosophies of Sex and Love, which is Philosophy 350 WI at Finlandia University. This is summer 2020, and I am Patricia Gross, your professor for this course. A little bit about me again. This is my second summer at Finlandia. I'm the assistant professor of philosophy at Finlandia University. And one of the major fields of my research is in the philosophy of love in very different kinds of ways. And so this course is kind of my baby. I love it. And I'm so excited that you're here with me to explore the questions about the nature of sex and love. This week, this unit that you've been doing has been called What is Love? And last week you had Unit 1, which was just titled Hello, and we're just beginning to open up some questions about what love is. But now the question for this week is that general question, what is love? And I'm actually recording this, not in week 2, but I'm recording this actually directly after I recorded the week 2 video. But hopefully you understand what I mean when I say I'm really excited about what the work you did last week and the work that you're going to do this week. I haven't read your assignments from last week yet, as it's still before the term starts as I say this, but I bet they're really amazing. The title of the unit we're in and the title of the week of this week is the same. What is love? This is what we'll be exploring in the readings and really in this course in general this week, as disparate as these readings that you're reading seem. But in speaking of the readings, let's look at them. So the week 2 assignments are as follows. Read Love in a Romantic Living Room, Remarks for an Inquiry on Ordinary Love Today by Chiara Pizzesi. That's in their textbook. Again, I provided the PDF for this because I didn't think that you would have it by now because it's only week 2 and it's hard to get stuff right now. But the next reading that we're going to have from the book is in week 4, so you need to go ahead and order that so it can come in as soon as possible. You'll need to listen or read to the short story How to Talk to Girls at Parties by Neil Gaiman. The nice thing about this particular video, or about this reading, is that Neil Gaiman himself actually has recorded the short story, so you can just listen to it if you want to, and his voice is really dreamy in a lot of ways. You'll have your discussion board assignments and your short essay, which you're going to talk to at the end of the slides. First, I'd like to review a few things about the readings you have for today. So note that these mini lectures do not constitute the be-all and end-all of interpreting these multifaceted texts, right? So I'm just trying to kind of open up some questions about the text to kind of help you come to understand the complexities of the questions that you're being asked, right? So Love in a Romantic Living Room is one of my favorite pieces in this particular book, and that's our reading for this week. It's exciting for many reasons, and let's start with the first questions Piazzetta gives us. How do we know, though, that we find ourselves in a living room, mostly just by doing, thinking, and feeling what we usually do, think, and feel in a living room? How do we know that we're in a living room? How do I know that I'm in my office or in an office at all, right? But when you walk into a living room, you generally speaking know it's a living room, right? Because when you walk into like your friend's mom's like formal living room, you ever have a family that has like a second living room that no one goes in? That's not a living room. That's like a den or something like that. If you walk into a den, it feels different, right? But if you walk into a living room, you know what it is. But there's no like one piece of furniture that makes a living room, right? I've provided a picture from, I think this might be from Pinterest or something like that, just of a living room, right? And you could look at this and say, oh, it's a living room, right? But not all living rooms have televisions, right? What makes a living room a living room? How do we know that we're in a living room? And it's this question that I think is worthy of pause. You know that you're in a living room because you know you're in a living room. It's this circular form of knowing. In philosophy, the study of knowledge, of how we come to know things or what things are, is called epistemology. It's like the study of words, basically. And how do we know that we're in a living room? How do we know we're in love? Is love the same as living rooms in this metaphor? In the next few slides, we'll spend a little time with each section of this text. Just as a fair warning, I'm not going to be going over too much of the complexities of this text because that's going to be your job. But what I have done is highlighted several quotations. And so one just to start with, while attempting to understand love today, we must first ask what kind of object we seek to understand. This gives us that question. Our question is, what is love, right? But we actually have to know what we're talking about. Like, what is it that we're actually asking when we ask the question of what is love? If we turn to this quotation that's here, right? We have another way of paraphrasing the question. What are we talking about when we're talking about love? Love is the placeholder for all the ways in which, here and now, we make sense of experience, perceptions, emotion, judgments, context, stages of the construction of our identities, relationships, attitudes, and we embrace tradition by referring them to the horizon of meaning that we understand as that of love. This cannot be described as the act of subsuming empirical occurrence under a general definition. Our folk theory of love already includes the possible legitimate uses of this notion. What is love? I know it when I see it. What is love? It's a very complicated question and a very complicated thing. Other cultures and other languages have many more words for love than English does, but they might all be the same thing. And that's a question we're going to have to keep exploring as we continue on this term. I wish, of course, I want to continue providing you with important markers. You'll notice that each of these slides has the title of one of the sections of the book. So, Understanding of Love. The next section of the book, of this particular chapter of the book, is What is a Living Room? Pros and Cons of a Minimal Definition. So again, the author is trying to find a definition of not just like love, but also living room. And it's not just that he's being pedantic about, or they're being pedantic about, I don't know the gender of this person, so I'm going to say they. I don't know their, like they're trying to come up with a definition of a living room. And it's this really fascinating metaphor for what's going on when we're trying to define something like love. Do you know you're in a living room when you're in it? Do you know you're in love when you're in love? Right? Sometimes it's not until after we're in a living room that we realize that was the living room. Just like maybe that can be the same for love as well. The next section is the importance of being ordinary. It talks about emotions. The next section is contemporary patterns, some introductory remarks. And if we were in person, I would read all of these quotations aloud. And I would ask you questions about what you think. But unfortunately, the engagement that I have with you is asynchronous, right? And that actually can be very fortunate in a lot of ways because it gives you a lot of time to think through these really complicated quotations and this complicated text. And I'm looking forward to what you have to say about this in your discussion boards. And then finally, there's the concluding remarks. So the conclusion of academic chapters and essays are very useful. They often have, that's how I spelled ought. That's great. So there you go. They ought to have very clear indications of what the main thrusts of the arguments in the text are. But let's move on to the other reading you had this week, right? So this is just, you go back and you can check out these slides that can be very helpful for you. But the other text you had was Neil Gaiman's How to Talk to Girls at Parties. You may either read the story or listen to Gaiman reading it himself, and there are links provided on our course website. The purpose of this and other media examples of this course is to continue to explore the ways in which sex and love, and for that matter, desire, are represented in various media. So the people that are the main characters are Vic, who is a smooth-talking teen. In is our narrator. Allison, who we never get to meet, is the friend from study abroad whose party Vic forgot the directions to. And Stella is the person that allows Vic and Anne into this party and is the person that Vic is in a romantic liaison with in this. From the reading, from the video, from the website itself, I've kind of copied these wonderful pictures, and the authors' names are down here. If you kind of go in, you can see the Junie Koponen, who did these beautiful pictures. And again, the link is on the Canvas page for all these wonderful pictures. These are the three girls that In talks to at the parties, right? And I put them up here. How does he speak to them? How does memory play a role in retelling this story? Is In a poem now? Did In ever really see any of these people as themselves? What is the connection between Wayne's Wayne, and Triolet? What is In looking for? Sex or love? To find answers to these questions and more, let's discuss the discussion board for week 2. So this week we're reading Love in a Romantic Living Room, and we're reading this short story, How to Talk to Girls at Parties. This week, your discussion board with your colleagues is more collaborative. You are responsible for summarizing the full text of the book chapter in a meaningful way, as well as providing a short synopsis of each of the girls as the narrator discusses in the game and story. You and your colleagues are responsible for the entire summary, so you actually need to break up who is doing what. I'm not actually going to tell you how. There's I can't say the number of students because I've been getting more students every day, but you'll have to break up the assignment, right? Like who's going to do what, and that's going to involve some work on the discussion board. You'll also have access to each other's emails because I'm going to be sending you an email next week. I'm going to be sending you an email in week 1 of the course that has everyone's emails on it. So if you wanted to make a Google Doc or something, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be grading both the assignment itself of the summarizing and the synopsis of the story, and the PZSE text. And I'm also going to be grading you on your personal involvement in that summarizing, right? The initial summary synopsis is due by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. And then each of you must respond to the readings this week. And these responses must be at least 200 words and conclude with a question for your colleagues. Finally, you must answer at least 3 of your colleagues' questions, and these responses are due by Friday, right? So you'll grade your group. Your group is the whole course, but all you fellow students are going to be making the summary synopsis together, and then you have to have an individual response to the reading, and then provide a question for your colleagues, and then you have to respond to your colleagues' questions by Friday, 11:59 p.m. And then there's short essay 1. By the way, let's look at over here. So this is the course website. This is what you can see so far. There's week 2. And probably by the time you get to look at this, I'll probably have the next unit up. Maybe. We'll see. But you'll see here, complete week 2 discussion board. Oh, and you'll see that there's the PDF for Love in a Romantic Living Room. And here's the link to the Neil Gaiman as well. You can see here, there's a couple links I've included on the syllabus as well, so that should just go straight to the story. It'd be funny if it didn't work, right, and suddenly the link is broken, but it'll come eventually. So I think it's probably just my internet being weird. Okay, so the discussion board prompt is here, right? All that same stuff is here, and you'll be replying in the same way, right? I really hope this link works. What's happening? Pop-up blocked. Allow. Done. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so finally went through. It's fine. So you can listen or read to it. It's kind of cool, I think. Okay, go back home. I don't know if you could hear that growl, but that was my stomach. I'm going to have lunch right after we have this conversation. I don't know. I kind of want a smoothie, but I don't feel like that's a good lunch. You know what I mean? But maybe I have curry, but I haven't had breakfast, so... This is, by the way, I'm trying to give you the full Dr. Gross philosophy experience, which usually involves me talking about food that I would like to eat or food that I just ate. Okay, so let's talk about short essay 1. That's the last thing we're going to talk about today. And this will help us conclude the unit. So unit 1 is titled, I just clicked on the assignment, by the way, and you can see this at any time, right? What does it say? The tool needs to be loaded in a new browser window. Okay, whatever. Unit 1 is titled, What is Love? Obviously, that question is incredibly complicated. There are so many different kinds of love, so many different representations of this ever-present yet ephemeral emotion. The purpose of Unit 1 is to open up your mind to the complexities of the question itself. In your discussion boards this week, you had to answer the question, What is love? In several ways. For your first short essay, you will answer this seemingly simple question in yet another way. In this essay, you must create 3 vignettes, which are a brief evocative description, a counter episode, that each creatively answer to this question. In your first vignette, you must describe a time in your life where you felt something like love. What caused this feeling in you? What did it feel like? Was there anyone else in the room at the time? So just explore what that looks like for you. In your second vignette, you must summarize the Piazzesi article "Love in a Romantic Living Room." Then you must describe what you think Piazzesi thinks love is. In your third and final vignette, you must discuss the representation of love in either of the media pieces we discussed in this unit, Love is Blind or How to Talk to Girls at Parties. Then, after you've done these 3 vignettes, you must create an introduction to your vignettes that clearly makes a connection between each piece. It is very important that this introduction be written after you write your vignettes. Finally, for your conclusion, write at least 3 sentences about what you hope to learn about love in this course, right? Your introduction you write last, or write second to last, but it's going to go at the beginning of your text. Your conclusion is going to go at the end. So you'll have an introduction, and then you'll have vignette 1, vignette 2, vignette 3, then you'll have the conclusion, right? This paper is due by Friday at 11:59 p.m., right, of May 29th. There's additional requirements here, 4 to 5 pages, 12 times New Roman with 1-inch margins. I want you to provide citations. If you cite anything, if you use information from somewhere, you should give me a link to something. If you talk about a movie or something like that that's unrelated to the course, just provide a link to the IMDb page, right? So hyperlink to hyperlink, 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 right? Because I don't want you to plagiarize. I want you to, the whole point of this is to think about what you think about love, right, in this particular essay and what your experiences have been. There's a self-assessment rubric to help you as you write and complete your essay, and the learning objectives are here as well. I'm looking forward to reading your essays and your discussion boards, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you about this really complicated question for our really. I really am happy to have this first unit with you on what is love. The next unit is going to be titled The Origin of Love, a Greek Interlude. So some of you have already read some of this with me in other classes, but we'll get to that in week 3. So for now, I'm looking forward to your readings. Let's look at these pretty pictures again. All right, goodbye.